Hello and welcome to Indie Influencer. I'm Jim Catapano, and I'm very excited to chat today with Alexander Nero, company co-founder of the Atlas Theater Company. And Alexander is going to tell us all about the company, which was founded last year, and their new production of Richard III, which opened on February 17th. So welcome to Indie Influencer, Alexander.
Oh, a pleasure to be here, sir. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. I Something that I found that was interesting is that now the show opened yesterday on the 17th, and it was mentioned to me that it's the beginning of the Year of the Horse, which of course is a very famous line from Richard III, and I thought that was an interesting coincidence that bodes very well.
Oh, quite so. It was not lost on me, and I thank you so much for pointing it out. Yes, brilliant coincidence, but uh, a coincidence at that. Of course, we did not plan it that way.
Yeah, it works out brilliantly though, and very poetically, and quite a exciting thing, for theater buffs to have that sort of serendipity. So that's very cool to start out with. And I wanted to start with asking you how the company came about. I know it's been about a year and a half, I think, since you started doing productions. And if you can maybe take us through how that came to be, and how your experience led to this venture.
Well, it's been about a year and a half since the idea of the company really began its gestation. Our first production was last year's Henry VI, parts one and two, combined into one play. And that was we rehearsed in May, we premiered in June. That was our first production as a company. Before that, it was trading ideas, trying to secure venues, but the paperwork was filed early in 2025, I would say. Not to delve too deeply into the mystery of it. I don't know how interested your listeners are in that, but
I think very, yeah.
But Adriana and I probably began discussing it in earnest in June of 24. So just almost a year to the day before we actually had curtains up on the first show.
Wow. Yeah. And how did you meet Adriana? Was it?
So, as a matter of fact, and I don't know how private I'm supposed to keep anything, I think we first saw each other when I auditioned for a company. She had just begun working with a company as a dramaturg. And I knew about the company through a gentleman who's become a mutual friend of ours. I auditioned. I did not get the part, but the company was putting on two Shakespeare productions that summer. I auditioned. I think I did Have At You Then, Affection's Men at Arms from Love's Labour's Lost. But I was not introduced to her. She was there at the table with the directors with the directors. And then later that summer, I attended the production because this gentleman, our mutual friend, was in it. And he introduced me to Adriana and said that she would be working with him on Richard III that fall. This is in 2015, I think now. And I was also going to be in that production of Richard III. Um, Another mutual acquaintance had put this gentleman and me in the show. And I learned that Adriana was going to be um, assisting us, stage management and dramaturgy. And so we got to know each other a little as we worked on that production of Richard III. So this is really has come full circle, to use
Yes, indeed.
Shakespeare's phrase. Uh, we worked together on Richard III, and I remember after the close of the show, we really got to talking for the first time. We were at a bar. We were drinking, all of us actors, all of us theater folks, and we began talking about the history plays and how Richard III is the conclusion of a great series. I mentioned my great love of the history plays that I had just really by accident fallen into reading them in historical order.
I
Uh,
see.
and that was actually our first idea. The first thing I said was, let's do the two tetralogies in historical order. Let's start with Richard II and go all the way through Richard III. Uh,
Makes for a rich experience that way
it,
doing it,
it,
and,
and it's a lovely way to read them. It really is. I recommend it to anyone who has not read any of them yet. Start with Richard II by all means and work your way through. But of course, Shakespeare wrote the two tetralogies at different times in his career. The first tetralogy takes place last. And one way or another, we discussed this again. We discussed this again. Perhaps perhaps a year later, we started talking about it again. And oh, the things I wanted to do, all eight plays. There were things about it that just weren't feasible. And anyway, we got involved in another production together, the same company that I mentioned before. I don't know if it's all right that I mention the name of the company. I mean, it's certainly not out of any ill will. It's just we've both worked with them before. Um,
that should be fine.
you may have heard of Hip to Hip.
Yes.
Anyway, and so we were working together again in the summer of 2017. Adriana as dramaturg, and I was in the plays Measure for Measure, and we did Henry IV Part One that summer actually as well. So it was a chance to do another history play. Um, and I suppose we let discussion of the history plays drop for a while. Then a few years later, we were working together again. Adriana was starting to direct. She directed me in a couple of short plays. And I think five years after the summer I just mentioned, I finally said, I guess I had reread the history plays again. And I said, I think we should just do Henry VI, Part One. Uh, no one does it. It's not very popular. Joan of Arc is, staring down from heaven, smiling on us. I'm sure she won't be offended.
Right.
So, and anyway, that's to praise myself too much, which I don't mean to do here. I said Henry VI, Part One. Adriana wanted to do the tetralogy, um, and she sold me on that. Um, but again, a few years managed to pass once again. I re-engaged her about a totally unrelated point, and again, Henry VI came up. Um, and I tried actually to plead for doing Henry VI Part One alone, but
Mm,
she made a very strong counter case for doing them together, and the end result I think was salutary. We managed to present, I think, the story of Henry VI Part One, and move into the additional excitement of Part Two. Really a stronger play in a lot of ways. But I think it made for a strong, unified production.
right.
Anyway, and that is to superimpose all of that chronology on what I said before. Starting in about the middle of 2024, we started seriously discussing doing this, to the point that it became inevitable, and
Right.
we,
It's
we
had to
couldn't
be.
stop, and we couldn't stop it. So.
Right. That's the best though when those things happen. When you just know this is how it's going to go, and you just know you're on the train, and it's going to the destination that it was intended to be. So it's interesting that the original idea was to just do the first one, which, as you mentioned, is very rarely produced. So it's kind of a treat and a very nice way to bring this particular aspect of Shakespeare's work back to life. It's like we all know the greatest hits, that we all, there were certain primers that people got in school and followed up on, but it's good to, it's fascinating to see the deep cuts, shall we say. They put it in the music vernacular. So was there a challenge in putting the two together? And it's like it sounds like it was really like an exciting prospect.
Oh, well, I cannot praise Adriana enough for the way she tailored those two plays in particular. As I say, you know, I don't think we were the first company to combine parts one and two, but I think we're the first one to preserve so much of the story of part one, as I say, um, to present it honestly and more or less completely. I think other times it's just tacked on as a prologue to part two.
Mm,
Just a little something about, oh, perhaps York and Somerset in the garden, disputing, picking their roses.
right.
Uh, but all the business about Talbot in France and all the nostalgia for Henry V, I think a lot of that is often just cut away. Um,
There's an authenticity to it that I think there is a tendency, especially these days, to abridge, which is sort of like a crime in a way, and to sort of like not give the audience a chance to see the production and it's as it was intended. I think it's people again going back to the greatest hits thing. It's like just let's just give the beats of the thing and cut out enough because we're worried the audience isn't going to be able to sit for it. And I think that's really not giving them enough credit. I think people who are especially interested in Shakespeare would rather see it as it was intended, which is a wonderful thing to do, is just to see, with every word for the most part, intact.
well, I know cutting anything from Shakespeare's script uh, pains both of us. There are things we inevitably remember that in a perfect world we would have retained. No matter what, almost any play of Shakespeare's, maybe excepting the Comedy of Errors or the Tempest, perhaps the Scottish play, any play of Shakespeare's is going to be a little trimmed, no matter what, no matter what. But could you call a 3.5 hour production abridged? As far as the
Exactly.
audience is concerned, not so much. And yes, looking back, I'm glad we were bold in that respect with respect to length. And as I say, there were one or two episodes from part one that perhaps in the future we wouldn't mind presenting, but the audience got a muscular, well-written story out of our presentation, I believe.
Excellent. That's a really good way to put it.
Thank you.
I think it really kind of is. It's vivid. It's like, I think that's what you want as someone who's like let's just say a purist. I think it's important to not cut corners, whether it's, time or, and I understand that your way of looking at things with Atlas is to present an authentic rendition, to not sort of modernize or to, for lack of a better term, dumb down the material. It's like, because it's accessible as it is if somebody's willing to, to listen and to sort of absorb. There's really no need to dilute the text or to create a production that sort of makes concessions to the modern age.
Oh, and I thank you for saying that, sir. No, I don't think we've made any such concessions. That at least I think I can say without reservation.
Excellent. Um, like to get to how the journey went from Henry VI to Richard III, which of course they do go together in the tetralogy. But what was the your experience and the company's experience of going from that production to this one and the
Well,
preparation involved?
well, we were so delighted with the reception to our first production, and we felt we had to move full steam ahead into the rest of the series. During the rehearsals, well, would we wait 6 months? Would we wait a year? uh, to have certain people back at a particular time as well. Um, oh, I I certainly hope we haven't lost anybody spiritually along the way. There have been folks who haven't been able to do the productions at particular times. Well, for my own part, I felt certain practical considerations kept me from doing this one. Uh, but even so, we've maintained a tight-knit group. I know we have a few folks who were in part three and couldn't do this one who are coming to see the show over this weekend. Uh, I know they still like us, and I believe they'll be back for Othello or some future show. Um, I think I think we've grown. I think we've developed a fairly large and yet tight-knit group over these last um, these last 9 months. I guess it's been
That's always important. Yeah.
nine or 10 months. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, speaking as someone who's been uh, on that side of the stage, yeah, I know how important it is to have the repertory company be trusting of each other. It's like it's like being in the trenches, and there's something about the experience of creating production together that creates a bond that is some the strongest you could possibly have in life and in creation. It's just something really special about it.
Indeed. Oh, but may I ask, have I answered your original question? I'm sorry if I've rambled from the original point.
Oh well, yeah, it's it's definitely a part of it. Yeah, that's one of the most interesting things to me is how the cast gels, and like as you said, I was curious about the company and the returning actors, and what was the process like about when somebody had to say, "Well, I can't do this one." Was how large was the net in casting in auditioning new players and
Well, we've taken a lot of recommendations
mm.
from within the cast, I would say, and so we've met a lot of people who are already familiar with some of us and whom we knew going in could be trusted. Adriana and I would audition new people, of course, in a uh, perhaps in a forum like this one, and get as strong an idea as we could of their abilities. Uh, but the cast is hardly um, the cast has always been good for recommendations.
That's always important. It's always good to have a network that can give you an inside look at who's out there and who will fit in. I suppose is there a lot of pairing up different people and seeing how their chemistry is once you know you want to work with them. Is there a process where you say, well, would they be good in this role? How are they alongside this other actor and in this part? Is there a lot of sort of juggling parts, or do you have some inkling as soon as you meet someone what you would like them to play?
I I must again, of course, praise Adriana with respect to that. I remember those first two rounds of auditions for Henry VI parts one and two. And yes, she had a very keen sense of who should be paired with whom. Um, and I contributed a little something here and there, but I had strong feelings about this one or that. But uh, yeah, she has that marvelous director's sense. She can see who pairs well, even without having seen them together.
She has a keen grasp of the personalities and how they would fit, even without seeing them actually interact together, which is a great skill. Um, Terrific, yeah. If you could take us to maybe the days leading up to opening night, and what the everything was like. I'm very interested, and I'm sure our audiences too, in the technical aspects and the obtaining the theater and the space, and what was it like in those last couple of weeks leading up to the very first performance of Richard III?
Well, we secured the theater quite some while ago. It's the same theater we used for Henry VI, Part 3. As a matter of fact, we were very lucky they had availability during those 2 weeks. And the technical aspects, well, as last time, as with both of our productions, we don't get into the theater until the day before opening night. That's
Yeah.
Tech Day, which I'm sure any number of your listeners are know full well.
Yes.
So that's
That's
always
why.
that is always a busy day.
Hmm.
Uh, but luckily in this case we did know the space going in, so the actors know how to navigate backstage and
And that is crucial, actually. There's something about being in the space and understanding and being familiar with it and being able to live in it as long as you can. Like you said, sometimes or more often than not, you only get in the day before. And I've had experiences where we called the place to say, "Hey, can we see the space that we booked for this run?" And they would say, "What do you mean?" And we had to scramble to find new dates. So I'm kind of interested in that. It's like because there's always these little things, which again does actually create a bond. Is that that mutual 11th hour scrambling to make it happen. I think that's part of the excitement and dare I say part of the fun too.
well, I couldn't I I couldn't agree more, but there are certain things with regard to this production in particular, I'm not sure I'm at liberty to say, if you know what I mean.
Understood.
Certain certain interested parties who, yes, must remain nameless. But yes, there are always those.
Yes, and I'm excited to see it this weekend, and and be there for the talk back. And I think what I'd like to know is going forward into the next production, when that will be Othello, as we established, and what the preliminary plans are for that, and a general idea of when we can expect that to be on.
We have to talk to a few people. We have to see when the theaters are open. But the hope is early summer, June, I should think.
Excellent.
I should hope.
That's soon. That's wonderful.
Need. Um, Never know what could happen, but
Yeah.
yes, fingers crossed. Early summer, I would say. That's our hope.
Terrific. That's going to be very exciting. Yeah, I wanted to ask a little bit about your own experiences as an actor in
Thank
the
you.
canon, and how you came to do that, and some of your favorite experiences and roles.
Well, how I came to do it. Gosh, I mean, I'm not. I mean, my experiences aren't so terribly interesting. Oh well, I suppose I don't know exactly what finally converted me to Shakespeare, but it was not preternaturally early, not as early in my life as I would have liked, but I would say towards the end of high school, and was very lucky. My last year of high school, I learned they were doing Twelfth Night, and so I auditioned for that, and I was Malvolio. That was my first Shakespearean role.
Yeah. Was that your first role altogether, or were there parts before that that you dabbled in, non-Shakespeare? Or...
Well, in elementary school, I had done a little something. But then it just lay dormant for quite a few years. I can't exactly say why, but yes, fourth and fifth grade, I think it was. I was in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I was in The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, what'd you play?
Uh, well, I was the wizard in The Wizard of Oz.
Excellent.
Actually, I was Mr. Slugworth in Willy Wonka, and
Fabulous.
yes,
Big fan of both.
I'm so glad. But it was it wasn't a very selective production. The children's recreation program at the local library. So uh, anyone who wanted a part got one. So everyone had to be fit in, and this director thought it
Right.
would be funny if my brother and I were both Slugworth. So we were the Slugworth brothers in Willy Wonka.
Oh, terrific.
As always, I actually found the videotape a while ago, and I was very disappointed to find that it was completely awful, objectively. But I had such fond memories of it. But I'm not sure where the Wizard of Oz is. And before that, I don't know, when I was a little uh, sapling, I think I was in the nativity play at at church.
Excellent.
But very not much experience before. It was really Shakespeare who awakened my love of acting in general. And
Ah,
since Malvolio, I've been in some non-Shakespeare as well, and enjoyed it very much. As I mentioned, actually, Adriana directed me in two newer plays, a couple of one acts. Uh, but even after high school, I had an early enthusiasm for that, and that managed to peter out as well somehow. I didn't audition for anything all through college, except towards the end. Again, it was my senior year, and I learned they were doing Much Ado About Nothing, and I said, well, that might be fate. Senior year again, exactly 4 years later, here we are. Um, and well, I was remarking to my mother recently. I said, I came home and I asked you to tell me I couldn't do it. I asked you to discourage me from being in the play because
really?
I knew there were other circumstances, there were other things I wanted to be doing, and I felt I shouldn't be doing this. And she would not discourage me. And so I had to do it. And I met some important theatrical friends in that college production, people with whom I'm still in touch, people who are still mentors to me. Ever since then, I've been acting on and off. It's always on and off.
Right. I no, I totally understand that. It's like, especially for someone who's interested in a lot of different things. It's like, well, am I going to take the plunge? And then you meet people who sort of encourage you to do that. Like I said, your mother did, and but I totally understand that. It's like, well, is this the road to take?
Mhm.
Because once they go down that path, it is, it reminds me of the Wizard of Oz. It's like, should I go down this road? I'm going to meet people who are going to encourage me to keep going, and who will become lifelong companions and partners in creativity. And it just suddenly you find yourself where you are now. It's like, wow, and it's interesting to look back and see how that happened.
Quite so. And yes, when I think about it, had I not done Much Ado, I wouldn't have met, as I say, certain mutual friends, and I wouldn't have met Adriana a little less than a year after that. And Richard III was actually my first professional Shakespearean production. That Richard we did over 10 years ago now.
Yes, again, full circle then. Yeah, yeah,
And yes, well, and you asked about favorite roles, I think, also.
yeah.
Well, for several years, I would have said, yes, I think my favorite role was Touchstone and As You Like It.
Mhm.
But now I think I think Humphrey, Duke of Gloucester in Henry VI, parts one and two, has given him a run for his money.
Right. What is it about those two roles actually that actually made you feel, oh, this is, these are the ones that are just like top of the list for me.
Well, I enjoy Touchstone's language. I enjoy the 7 degrees of the lie speech. Not perhaps one amongst many in that respect, but I was told by an authority on the subject that I delivered it with great conviction, and I was very flattered by that. Um, well, Humphrey, is a completely different role. Even just mechanically, Touchstone's lines are almost all in prose, and Humphrey's lines are almost all in verse. And of course, well, Touchstone is a clown, and Humphrey is a mature nobleman. But those are my types. I don't know if that's strange, but yes, if I
Not
were
at all.
if I were going to be typecast, I guess those are my types.
Hmm. Do you have a particular genre that you prefer, not just to perform, but as a uh, enthusiast, whether it's historicals, which is what we're concentrating on now, or comedies or tragedies?
I was just, I suppose I would be a hypocrite if I said, well, yes, absolutely. Just last night in the theater, I was remarking to two gentlemen who had come to see the show that Shakespeare always transcends genre to a great extent.
Mm.
Um, I suppose, I guess if you held me down, I mean, if you forced me to choose between comedy and tragedy, I would say comedy. But I am, as you say, I'm especially fond of the history plays. I have been ever since I discovered Richard II, really by chance. Um,
What was it about that one that made you say, "Yeah, this I want to dive more into this
well, as I say,
genre"?
I I was at my local library, and I don't remember if they were giving away these paperbacks or if they may have cost 50 cents. But they like to offload certain things. They like to be rid of them
Mm.
in a speedy manner. And I'd already read Hamlet, and that was one, but you can never have too many copies of that. So I picked up Hamlet, and right next to it was Richard II, which I probably thought was Richard III. I probably wasn't really looking closely, and that was one I had heard of, but it was Richard II. I read the introduction on the bus one day, and I realized this was the beginning of the story. I'd never read any of the history plays before, and this is the beginning of this is the beginning of the 8 play sequence, if you will. Um, and so I read it just like that. As I say, discovered it really by chance. I would never have sought out Richard II. It just happened to be there on the shelf, and I picked it up.
Again, sometimes the accidents create the greatest experience.
Well, and it certainly did. To read all of because Richard II comes up not constantly, but he does haunt these plays, even
Mm.
though Shakespeare hadn't written Richard II yet. Um, every one of these 4 plays brings him up at least once, and it was quite thrilling to read the earlier plays. Later that same year, I discovered Richard II, and to understand all of the little references to Richard II, to understand when Mortimer speaks in Henry VI, Part One, about the Percys of the North finding his usurpation most unjust, laboring to put Mortimer on the throne. Um, Part Two, then also, hold on, I think I've lost exactly where it is, but in any event, talk of, well, when York is speaking to Warwick, telling him about his claim, how Lancaster got the throne and so on, it comes up again. Part three, it comes up again when York is in the throne room, openly trying to take the throne from Henry. And then in Richard III, when you wouldn't expect it would be necessary, Shakespeare throws it in anyway when Rivers is about to die at Pomfret Castle. Richard II here was hacked to death. We're never allowed to forget it. It's a terribly important moment for Shakespeare.
Right.
And to have read that one first, as I say, the credit is not due to me. I would not have thought to do it. It was an accident.
Yeah, a very pleasant accident.
Most
And
pleasant.
yeah, it's interesting to connect the dots in that way and to see how they all get woven together. And I think that's an aspect of the historicals, which of course is something you don't see in the shall we say standalones. And it's worth it to to explore further and see where where it takes you. Which is why I wanted to ask. Actually, I think there's probably some audiences out there that might be a little intimidated by a historical, and I wonder what you would say to them to assuage that. You know, whether or not the amount of material or the kind of things that's involved in the storytelling. You know, like we said, we know that it's a very rich experience. But I think there may be some people that will call that maybe less that know Shakespeare and are interested, but are also will just kind of like snap up to your Romeos and Juliets and your Scottish plays and your Hamlets and things like that.
Gee, you know, I don't think that Shakespeare's histories ought to be any more intimidating. I suppose I can understand. Well, Richard III, as I say, and this is not at all to slander any other companies that do it. Richard III is an old favorite, and
Hmm.
everyone does it.
Yeah,
Um, again, not to slander anyone. A production can be conventional and deeply satisfying at the same time. I'm not saying companies shouldn't do it by any means, but people have enjoyed it for centuries, even without seeing Henry VI. And there's a lot of Henry VI in Richard III.
right.
And people are all the same, not scared off of it. Um, I I by the same token, it's a long story to follow, but Shakespeare does it with such speed and really clarity and conviction. Um, there are a lot of characters. I could see where someone could get lost. I could see
Right.
it. Um,
There's a lot of dynamics
but
in this one in Richard III. There's a lot of action and there's a lot of incidents. You know, I think that will keep one engaged.
yes, but I would say, with respect to that, I would say give the Henry VI plays a chance too. I don't think they're really Shakespeare's a little younger when he writes them,
Mm,
but he's learning that there are a lot of excess characters, I suppose you could say, in the Henry VI trilogy. But I would say give them a chance if you're not going to read them in order, as I say, as I did by chance. Uh, then by all means go back after you enjoy Richard III and enjoy the Henry VI plays as well. Um, to give yourself some context after the fact. If you can appreciate Richard III with all its characters, I don't think it's too much of a leap to appreciate the Henry VI plays. And then the histories, the second tetralogy, which takes place first, of course,
mhm.
much tighter. Shakespeare's matured a great deal. It's 8 or 10 years later, and the casts are trimmed down significantly. Um,
That alone
yeah,
is fascinating, though, to see how he changes. Tackling the subject at different points in his career. That's something that I'm very fascinated by. When things were written and what kind of mindset he was in, and I think most audiences are too that are enthusiasts. Think about what was going on at the time and watching him develop. I think there's something very exciting to see it in that order as well. In the written order as well as the chronological order. I think one should experience it both ways. I would think if you can.
Yes, I suppose that's very true. In which case I would say that there's probably no great sin in training yourself on Henry VI with its great abundance of characters, with its overabundance of names. And then proceeding through, I mean, you'll find the second tetralogy light reading by comparison, I suppose.
Right.
Um, but don't be intimidated if you enjoy Shakespeare, enjoy all aspects of him. He was fascinated by his country's history, and be fascinated by his country's history.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And as you said, I think there's something about presenting it as it was intended, with which I know, as we were saying, I was very taken by the Atlas's sort of motto in that sense of we don't need to put people in modern clothes or throw in millennial or Gen Z vernacular. It's like it's meant to be enjoyed the way it is, and it's like it really is successful once you sort of dive in. And I think as an audience member, you realize, oh no, I'm with this. It's like I don't need anything to be. You really don't. I think that's just the audience's own trepidation, which I think is for most people, and it certainly was for me. When I watched the plays, uh, goes away very quickly, and then you just become engrossed in it. And as it is, it's like it's not that far away. It's like you just have to recognize, okay, the language is a little different. In many ways, it's much grander and richer. And I think I remember someone saying that we don't use all the, of course it was different then, but it's like there's so many glorious words in the English language and in all languages that we don't uh, use. And it's just like, and it's fascinating to hear the words that Shakespeare used and the phrases he coined and the first appearances of things that we still say today. And I love having those eureka moments when I watch a production of like, oh, this is where this is from, and this led to this, and things like that. I think it's very exciting.
And with respect to that, I honestly wonder whether the first tetralogy isn't even more accessible than his more mature work. Um, it's not to say that he's less inventive, but I think fewer coinages leap out at you. To be sure, fewer famous lines leap out at you. Not that there aren't a few, but yes, with respect to the tangled history and the messy nest of characters, perhaps they're intimidating. But with respect to the language, I think they might even serve as a good introduction to Shakespeare's language. Um, and well, they were the world's introduction to his language, after all. So,
All right. Yeah.
uh, but you know, I don't
So
want to
not
go.
only,
I,
yeah.
I don't. I don't want to go so far as to say that there's no wrong way to appreciate Shakespeare. There certainly are wrong ways, yeah, but yes, give them a chance. Let the language wash over you, even if you don't understand every little thing. And if you feel that you're beginning to understand it, but you're not quite perfect, then come twice. Come twice.
The toy chest that he was able to play in is fascinating. It's just like the rich history that of England and the world beyond that he was able to take and it turned into this incredible work. That alone to me is fascinating.
It, well, it certainly is. He is playing the cards that are dealt him with respect to well, most visibly maybe with Joan of Arc and with Richard III.
Hmm.
Perhaps certainly not the villain not the villains he got in the standard histories of his day. Uh,
Right.
but it is a happy fall, I suppose, that they're written the way they are in those chronicles because we got some tremendous characters out of them. Um, oh dear, I don't know if that. Forgive me, I may have rambled again. I don't think that spoke to the point you made just a moment ago, so forgive me.
Oh, no worries. Um, no, it's true though. I just think, and it's a good gateway to history as well, to see
Oh,
it
oh,
played. You know.
it absolutely is. It absolutely is. Don't get me wrong. You will certainly find yourself preferring Shakespeare's version of events oftentimes, uh,
I would think so. Yeah.
but but it does certainly enrich reading historians on history. It certainly does. Um, who um, what do some other historians think of? We'll say Humphrey, Duke of Gloucester. You know, it's rather different from what Shakespeare thinks. Uh,
Sure, but I
for,
think that's part of the excitement of it for me, is that I want to know more. It's like whenever I see any production, whether a film or a theater, especially if it's referencing history, the first thing I do is go and research it and find out what happened, what's changed, in the fictionalization of it, and how it came about. It's like it must have been, again, it's so fascinating to think about the way that he looked at things and what he turned it into is magnificent and inspiring. And again, it's like it just makes me want to know more.
I think, well, you will you will find uh, you will find your opinions colored by Shakespeare. To be sure, you will find yourself trying to, or perhaps trying to justify this or that in his perspective as it differs from the historians. Um, I was almost disappointed to learn that historians tend not to take his view of Richard II's deposition as this
Ah,
great national sin that needs to be expiated through decades of bloodshed. Uh,
right.
but but what is it? Uh, it is more interesting than actual politics, but it also makes actual politics more interesting.
It definitely does, and I think to see it played out, rather than just reading it, to actually see it on the stage and see the people realized is fascinating, whether it's Joan of Arc or Richard III or Henry V. It's like there's just something so exciting about that. It's like it makes it come alive, and it makes you want to know more. Which I'm sure Shakespeare did. It's like he probably said, "Not only am I fascinated by this, but I want to see. I'm going to make it come alive again." In the way that I see it.
Yes, and that's very well put. And we wanted to make Henry VI come to life again.
Exactly. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, before we wrap up, I just wanted to say if there's anything you'd like to let our viewers know about the productions and what's coming up. We've talked a little bit about the current one, which I think runs through March 1st.
Yes, through March 1st.
Hmm.
The only day off we have now in that space of time is Monday. Only day off. So
Traditional dark day in theater, of course.
indeed. So
Yeah.
yes, come one, come all.
Yes, and then the talk back, it will be this Saturday, the 21st, at 1
Yes,
p.m. is
I
the
believe
is the brand name. Yeah.
yes. So after the 1 p.m. show, after the 1 p.m. shows both Saturdays, and I believe on Friday evening also there's going to be a talk back after
Excellent.
the 6:30 show. That's why we pushed that one up a little.
Oh, I see. Fantastic. Okay, now I'm very looking forward to it. I'll be there on Saturday and very intrigued
Oh,
and excited to see the production.
thank you so much. Yes, and we've oh the talkbacks are a lot of fun. We've had some intelligent points made, some important discussions we had.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward.
Well, thank you.
Thank you
Um,
so much, Alexander. This has been an absolute joy, and I love talking all things theater and all things Shakespeare. And thank you so much for joining us and giving us your insight. And very excited to see, Richard III and the upcoming production of Othello and what the Atlas Company does next. So,
Thank you for having me. Honored to be here. Um, we are honored to be recognized, honored to have found an audience, and hope we continue to find it.
terrific. Well, we're very thrilled to be able to do this with you and let everyone know the great work you're doing and to do anything we can. I'm very excited to see what you do next.
Thank
And
you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, it'll be oh, it's uncharted territory. We've only done histories so far,
mhm,
so,
very exciting.
but yes, everything will be easy compared to this, I'm sure. No.
Everything's smooth from here on in, onwards and upwards. Yeah. Terrific. Well, we're very much looking forward to it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again to our guest, Alexander Nero, co-founder of the Atlas Shakespeare Company. Richard III can be seen through March 1st at the Wild Project, and we will see you next time on Indie Influencer.